Redmond landowners have just lost $150,000 in land value in the past month alone. Here's the reason why. The city has passed a new tax on homeowners called the Mandatory Housing Affordability Fee, or the MHA fee. Owners now building any new construction on their property have to pay $30 a square foot on average to build new housing. That goes directly out of a homeowner's pocket when they're permitting a new house. Suddenly, your home, if you're building 5,000 square foot of development area on your house, you lose $150,000, and that is the money that homeowners are losing right now.
So does that include ADU and DADU?
Absolutely. This new law, irrespective whether it's an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit, or DADU, which is detached accessory dwelling unit, or it's a cottage development, every single homeowner needs to pay for it as $30 a square foot.
So who are the folks that are impacted the most?
The people most impacted are the people whose homes were in tear-down conditions, who were willing to sell their land to developers to build new construction, whether it be luxury housing or smaller affordable housing, smaller units, and helping increasing housing supply. Also, developers are incredibly hurt by this as well because suddenly their deals have stopped penciling out. This is going to cause a drop in supply in Redmond for new housing in the same way a similar law was passed in Seattle back in 2019, and housing for that zoning dropped by close to 80% over 5 years.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened to Seattle?
Yeah, Seattle passed in 2019, back in 2019, Seattle passed a law requiring similar MHA fees for all homeowners in the low-rise residential zoning. When that happened, Seattle used to permit 60 housing projects a year, 60 to 80 or so, and suddenly it dropped down to 10 to 20 housing projects because a lot of the deals stopped penciling out. Owners had to pay $100,000, $200,000 in MHA fees, and suddenly most owners have stopped selling their homes because they can't get the money they were hoping for compared to even a year before the amount of money they were going to get for their sale. And that has impacted negatively. More than 1,500 homes have been reduced in the housing stock because of this new law over the last 5 years.
There was a survey done for the MHA law in Seattle, correct?
The report that I mentioned was a survey done by the Master Home Builders Association, which looked at the impacts of the MHA law on new development. Here's the link and here's the graph from those guys. Yeah, the future appreciation definitely is impacted. Even in Seattle, when this law was passed, property values, especially the homes that were really on the lower end, which were completely tear downs, actually went down.
How does that impact future appreciation in Redmond?
Takes a couple of years for this shock to go in through the market because homeowners, are not willing to take lower prices immediately. So we do expect lower appreciation on these tear down lots because of that, and land values are not going to appreciate as quickly. On the median-sized homes, which are turnkey and livable, that impact is going to be felt in years' time, in 2 to 3 years' time, because it's a trickle-down effect. First, the lowest bottom homes get impacted, then the second level, then the third. So it's going to take some time for it to get impacted, essentially.
For people who are looking to buy turnkey homes right now, anything they should be aware of?
For people who are looking to buy turnkey homes right now, and if you're looking for large pieces of land because you want to develop in the future, remember and make sure you start adding this $100,000, $200,000 off tax that you're going to be paying in the future when permitting. For the people who have already bought it and are in the midst of it, you will get hit by that. In fact, I know an owner who's building 2 houses on their lot for total 7,000 square feet, 4,000, 3,000. And they're going to be paying close to $210,000 of additional tax to the city of Redmond, which they were not planning on. So please make sure every single home that you're going to be buying, if you plan to build on top of it and develop on top, you bake that fee in.
For the people who are looking to sell, what should they do?
For people you're looking to sell at this point, there's not much you can do, to be honest. This tax is already on you. Go vote for your city council. Go tell your senators, your representatives that this tax is First, unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has already ruled as of last year, 2024, that these excessive fees are unconstitutional, and it is going to go into the fight with Ninth District Court as of this year, most likely. And it takes years for these laws to get overturned, and it is also against the spirit of the Washington HB 1110 Act that was passed last year, which said, look, we cannot charge excessive fees for permitting because that impacts new housing supply. So this will eventually get sued and may get overturned, but that's going to be years out. But right now, the biggest thing you guys can do is vote against your senators, tell them this is unconstitutional, this is impacting your values, this is impacting new housing supply. So people who are looking to buy homes, this is impacting you. People who are selling their homes, this is impacting you negatively as well. And the best thing you can do is vote and tell people that. The basic thing everyone needs to know is housing. The more fundamental laws of economics we follow, more supply is great for people, more demand helps new owners be able to afford homes. We need to follow principles of economics and not cause artificial scarcities in this market because of these new laws.
Why does the city want to do this? I've heard it's related to affordable housing.
That's a good question. The challenge is, even though the law states MHA fees, it's technically just a law, it's just a tax on homeowners, basically an additional tax, and that additional tax is due on sale at this point, if when you think about it, or due in permitting, technically. The intent of the city was that all the tax that they collect, they could push that towards affordable housing programs elsewhere. The city of Seattle also did something similar in which they collected more than $500 million in taxes to push towards more affordable housing programs, but it has not helped at all. And in fact, the basic law of economics have constantly said the single best way to help push more affordable housing is to help effectively bring more supply in. And supply going down is the biggest challenge. You are, by passing this tax, you're causing new developments to have $30 a square foot additional cost of development, and that needs to get passed on to homeowners. So you're increasing technically the cost of housing by close to 10% at this point, and that is getting passed on to homeowners.
Are you able to get an exemption on this tax? How do you do that?
Yeah, so technically the city of Redmond says if you build quote unquote affordable housing for people less than 80% of the median household income, and the median household income in Redmond is close to $130,000 a year or so, less than 80% is close to $100,000 a year or so. If you push housing for that, you can effectively get an exemption on it. The challenge is the regulations are really onerous for small-time builders who are the main developers in this market to be able to do so. You need to guarantee that for the next 70 years, this will go for that. You need to put regulations in place, controls in place to make sure and mandate that these units will always remain affordable, and that adds to cost of development and processes that smaller developers cannot afford. Smaller developers also do not have the money up front to be able to pay $100,000, $200,000 fees up front, because that is not getting paid by the construction loan. The construction loan only kicks in after the permitting is done. And so a lot of developers aren't able to pay for neither for these fees nor for the programs and being able to support those programs.
So let's give an example. If the developer is doing a 6-unit, they need to have at least 1 unit for affordable housing, correct?
Let's just talk about this example. This 6-unit cottage development this developer is in right now permitting, they have to give one of these units as, affordable housing. In this case, affordable housing would be the median home price in Redmond is roughly $1.4 million. That sounds like a lot. It is, and if this developer needs to, give affordable housing in this area, they're going to be taking a hit of roughly $700,000 on this 1 unit in profit alone. And they need to now mandate programs, and they need to put controls in place for the next 70 years or so, or however long the city requires, to make sure that even if the home gets resold, even if the home goes into tenancy and rental, someone is always mandating the fact it goes to affordable housing. The cost of it is too onerous to be able to build that. Yeah. And so most of these developers don't have the ability, so they'll pay the tax instead they'll just pay for their tax instead of being able to like manage these programs, and that tax is now getting passed on to the new homeowners who are going to be buying it and the existing landowners who are paying for it essentially.
Would you say since Redmond passed this, will Kirkland or Bellevue looking to pass the same thing in the future?
We do not know yet. Kirkland so far has not passed a law. They've already upzoned their zoning, and we haven't seen that yet. There's been multiple studies that showed how this law, this tax, is causing a decline in additional supply. So some of these city leaders are cognizant of it, and they are working with builders associations to make sure that doesn't happen, at least for the city of Kirkland. We do not know for Bellevue, but so far they have not said anything of that sort. Seattle as well has learned from its failures, I believe. They passed it for one zoning, but they did not pass it for the other zonings, seeing the decline and drop in supply. But as always, a lot of this is to do with politics and optics. This may not make financial sense for cities because you're causing a drop in housing supply, which is all the affordable housing we're trying to push into the city. But you're also, you're also trying to help cater to your voter base, stating that you're passing on laws which may look good on paper. So we don't know yet on how city leaders may choose that. Rest assured, builders are actively working with these cities to give them the data and help them understand how this impacts supply.
Do you think the big builders, such as MN, will shift more development for new construction to Bellevue or Kirkland?
Absolutely. So we're already seeing that. I personally know 3 different builders who are backing out of deals in Kirkland. One of these builders, in Redmond, who was backing out of these deals in Redmond. One of these builders was building a 6-unit cottage housing for 2,000 square foot each to help cater to the median incomes in the area, 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. And they're backing out of this deal because they just got slapped with $360,000 in additional taxes by the city of Redmond right now. So yes, builders are backing. Luxury home builders are also backing out as well, and same for entry-level home builders. They just cannot afford these fees. So yeah, builders are getting impacted as of right now.
To summarize, you would say the city wants to create affordable housing, which is a good thing. However, they are creating rules and regulations
which are acting against the favor. Absolutely, this is absolutely right. The city, obviously, in their own in their own understanding of it, wanted to create more affordable housing, but what they did is actually the wrong consequence. We call it the unintended consequences of decrease in supply, and that decrease in supply is going to hurt the city over the next 5 years, 10 years or so. If you have questions, feel free to DM us, like and subscribe, and we would love to answer any questions and comments about affordable housing and investing in general.